So see, it wasn't just for me about the squash game. It's about how to study and break down the character of each of my opponents. And when I go and play them, I want to break them on court. Because I'm not just trying to beat them for today, I'm trying to beat them for the next 10 years. So I gotta invest.
Happy to get started, Mo?
Let's do it.
Nice one. Mo, we're at the start of your 20th season on tour. It's a hell of a long time to have been doing the circuit on the PSA. At this stage in your career, what's the motivation to keep you putting the work in and keep you coming back?
The motivation, of course, I mean, it's not the motivation because the motivation is a great thing to have. But it's not about that. Actually, it's more about having little goals, small goals for me. Getting to my 50th title last year, breaking the top 10, like the most being there in the history of the sport. All these little goals, keeps me going for sure. Yeah, like if you compare the goals I had when I was in my 20s, when I was back in my peak was to just be all number one and stay there forever if I can, So in every phase you got different goals, you gotta set up different goals, and you can't just go to a season without zero goals too, right? So, right now these are the goals for me to try and break some more numbers, but it's getting harder. Every summer gets harder. The last 3 years especially, it's been really hard. The summer training and the competition itself is okay. From September till June is the traveling gets hard and everything. But once you're competing, I enjoy that. But in the summer, when you have a long period without training, without competition, that's when it gets harder to get yourself going again. The summer especially, it's quite difficult, to be honest.
Impressive.
Yeah.
Why has it been more challenging this year?
I don't know. I played. I finished Toronto, the World Series finals. I lost one, and then I went Egypt. Had a 10 days break. Had a camp in Shanghai. I was Hadrian. Came back on the Saturday, third week of July, and then Monday starts when I was supposed to start training. And Monday arrived, I didn't even start. Monday come, I don't start. Tuesday, I don't start. And then I called Greg in the evening. I tell him, Greg, I'm not sure if I want to come back again. I feel like I've rested. I just keep resting now. Instead of going through the pain in my body. It's not the training; it's actually the pain I'm gonna go through with my body in the physio sessions. It's because they become really draining. My body obviously doesn't recover nowhere near, and every season it become way worse. Actually, I've been lucky enough that I haven't had something that stops me from going on court. It just niggles, and they become more and more. But then Greg is amazing. Actually, he told me like maybe tomorrow just start with a gym session. Just see how it goes. He knew what he was trying to do to me for sure because he had the experience. And then I did the gym session, and then I felt better after. And then start to play a bit of squash, and then bit by bit start to get into more of a rhythm. Then you're like, it's okay even if you're not ready at the start of the season where we want you to be, but at least it's a start. You get yourself into a rhythm, and then during the season you're gonna get there. You're gonna get better. It's not like you're in a stage in your career. If you have a bad loss at the start, you're gonna lose confidence or something like that. You already know what you can do, what you can't do. And I'm back into a rhythm again. Yeah, looking forward to this season, but it's been a challenging summer for sure.
Is that the first time that you've really, I guess, been in that situation where you've seriously considered hanging up the racket?
I think I've experienced it a couple of more times. Definitely, I think I remember when I lost to Kandra at the British Open a few years ago when I was 31. I had that moment. Had a bad season, and again, that's when I actually started working with Greg. Actually, that's when I phoned him after that match and I asked him for help. He just retired at the time.
That sounds more though the Kandra one at the British Open. Is that just the reaction to a bad loss and being annoyed to yourself? This sounds more like an actual.
That's what I was about to get to. It was more of a reaction, honestly. You get that, but to consider it and you have like a proper serious conversation about it. It was definitely this summer. That was the first time where. And definitely Ali's retiring last season, Tarek retiring last season will have a big effect, right? These guys, I've played with these guys all my life. I was just telling actually my brother, next season is the first season I play without having Tarek in it. Like I played seasons without Ali when I started, played seasons without my brother, all these guys, Nick and Greg, all these guys retired and I still kept playing. But Tarek especially, not just that I played him the most in my career, but every season since I've started the tour, he has always been in every season. So not having him this season is going to be quite weird for me for sure.
That's interesting that you pick out Tarek, because I was going to ask you about obviously Ali retiring. you've had different rivals over your career. He's been the preeminent one of the last 5 or 6 years. So I was going to ask you if that had an impact on your mentality.
They both had different impacts on me. I always thought, because I've had a career before Ali, I felt that he should have had a career after I retire. It always felt wrong. It felt wrong to me that I'm still playing and he's stopped, Not wrong, he had the right to do what he wants to do. At the end, he earned it. But it had an effect of, if he's retiring, what about me now, Hopefully, luckily still Gawat's keeping me going. Tarek, the effect of Tarek on me is that Tarek was actually someone, I shared the room with him when we started the tour together in Malaysia and all these bronze events when they used to do them, I don't know, 12, 13 years ago. Actually 20 years ago, more than that, sorry. So Tarek was a bit different, definitely, for me. Even Mossad, actually, these guys, I've been on with them all my career. But Ali is different. Ali, I've lived with him moments I will never forget. Only me and him will know these moments because we knew what we did to each other on court. So it definitely, his text to me the day before he retired was quite tough. Yeah, it was quite tough. I knew I had a big impact on his career, but the way he put it over a text, it made me realize it's bigger than what I thought, because I knew how big of an impact he had in my career, which was nice to see. And so they're obviously gone now and I'm still around. So let's see what's going to happen.
I think people would assume that you, as Mohamed ElShorbagy, Ali Farag's your big rival, Ali's just retired. Surely your reaction is, yes, I don't have to play that guy again. But it kind of feels like actually there's a bit of sadness there.
To be honest, I wasn't really playing finals with him when he retired. I wasn't really his main rival at the time. It was Asal and Diego. They were the 2 and 3. Even Paul, they had a period where they were rival, but I felt like Paul took a step back a little bit the last 2 seasons. He's still playing at the top level, of course, but definitely he wasn't playing finals with Ali the same way he used to, right? So it's been Asal in the picture with Ali, really. So I wouldn't say it's probably Asal who felt that way. I'm not sure if he did or not, but probably. But for me, I'm in a different position, right? So he's these rivals, you spend more time with them than your own family. So at the end of the day, you need them. You need them to be around. They keep you going. You keep them going. So definitely, when he left, a big part of me left with him. Definitely, and I will never get that back. Our matches are over. That will never ever happen again. So you come to realize all these years spent together on court, thinking about him, how to beat him, how to stop him from winning titles. We wanted the same things, Ali and myself. We wanted to win the same titles. We wanted the world number 1 spot. We both didn't accept number 2. And then at the end of it, you realize he's just like you. As much as we were both different, but actually a big part of it, of why we're both so consistent, is the similarities we had in our character, in our discipline, in our work ethics, and in our understanding of the game as well. The way we studied the game, I felt both of us were quite unique. At least what I felt whenever I played Ali is definitely the way he sees the game was definitely different to everyone else from that generation. Of his generation before, there were similar players to Ali in terms of greatness.
What do you mean by he sees the game differently, the way he reads the game differently?
I always see there are players that attack your skill level, they attack your movement, they attack your technique. But this is the easy part of the sport. You can easily watch a player and you can break down his forehand, you can break down his backhand. But that really, all these things don't matter when you're playing a final. When you're playing a final, it's much more than that. It's about how you're gonna approach that match, the mentality of the match, how you're gonna deal with certain kind of situations in the match. All these moments, it's not the technique is gonna get you through, or it's not gonna be your winners or your defensive game. It's about your mentality and about how you're gonna deal with that situation. And Ali knew what to do in these situations. The others were great players. They knew how to win titles, but there is a reason Ali was different, and it wasn't because he could hit a better backhand than the other players. They all can hit the same shots. They all can volley. They all can have a short game. But Ali's mentality, he was honest with himself. He was realistic. You know, if his opponent played better than him, you're not gonna see him writing an Instagram post about him being sick the week before. All these things. What makes the difference between someone who's gonna win title and you're gonna watch him on TV for 10 years, and someone who's gonna win title for 2 years? They're still great players, as I said. Like it feel like I'm talking about them not in a great way, but they're still great players, but they're not unstoppable. Ali's unstoppable. Nick was unstoppable. Rami was unstoppable. These guys are a very different category to the other players.
And is the common thread between, because you always talk, mental strength has been something you've talked about since 2014, 13, when you first started winning big titles.
That's when you started working. No, I started talking about this before you even started working.
Mental strength has always been a thing you've talked about. It's been a big sort of facet of your career. Is that the common theme between those great rivals that you've had? Farag, Gaultier, Matthew, Rami, Shabana, even go back to like Linku and Palmer when you started. Is the mental strength of those guys what made them different?
That's the common theme in terms of all the great athletes in all sports, not just squash players. It's the mentality of these athletes. I think that differ them. They all speak very similarly in different sports. You go to basketball, you can watch Kobe Bryant videos. You're gonna see him talking in a very similar fashion to how Nick used to talk in terms of the mental side of sport. They play a very different sport, right? So you gotta learn from these athletes and take it into your own sport. But these guys were very, very different. And even Rami, like even when I used to play Rami, people will always talk about his skills. Is the way he played the game was so unique. But that was for me not his scary part. His scary part was the mental side. Is him being 6 months out. I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna show who it was me at the time who was I was at the top of the game. I'm gonna show ElShorbagy that he is the only reason he has been winning is because I was in bed. That was his mentality, and probably and that's exactly how I would have been thinking if I was the one in bed while he was winning titles. That's how it works, between us. The moment he retired, I was down on the floor crying. I know. I even thought that he was beating me, and I was trying to beat him in some big moments. It's the same with Ali, same with all these guys. The mental side of sport is very, very different. Even when you talk to them, even have over a coffee, they're just so unique. The way they think, the way they talk about sports, about how they find solutions. It's just different, honestly. I don't know how to explain it as better than this, but they're just.
Yeah, because to the average person watching, if you're number 1, if you're number 10, if you're number 20 in the world rankings, you can all move well.
Yeah.
And everybody's fit, everybody's fast, everybody can hit a length, everybody can hit a cross-court nick.
Yeah.
Everybody's got the shots. Some might be better at shots than others, but really you look at a player and you think that guy's a world beater. Yeah. But then when that guy goes up against whoever the number 1 is at the time, if it's a Rami, a Shabana, a Nick, then they sort of, not that they're made to look average, but they certainly don't look as good as they did in the first round match.
Well, these big names you just mentioned, whether Rami, Nick, Ali, Greg, all these guys, you see, like, they're gonna read their game anyways, right? So you don't really have to look at $1 million in your first few rounds. You just need to get through, as long as it's not like an hour and a half match, right? You just do enough, right? Greg was very good at just finishing these matches in 20 minutes. 20 minutes, if I'm honest with you. I even when I talk to him right now, I told him, I don't know how you used to do that. How can you have such a big level of difference and you're focused like you're playing me or Nick? He was so good at that. I couldn't do that. I've always had a slip of a game here and there, and then when it comes to semi and final, I'll go another level. Nick used to do that. So I think these guys are just always going to be different. There are players that can learn how to do that, but I don't know. It's just it's been so different seeing these players playing against them, seeing how they think. Every time you play them, they come back with something so different. I remember when Ali was coming up at me. Honestly, there was a season he played me in a lot of finals. Played like 6 finals. We played maybe 5 platinum finals or 4. He won the first one, and then I won the next 5. Because obviously I knew what he was trying to do against me, and every time I played him and he kept losing, he comes back with something different. He comes back with something different every time. And that's when at some point he's going to find the thing that you can't stop, And then I remember we finished the last tournament of the season was in Dubai, and I beat him 3-1. It was the last tournament. And then I remember that interview till today. He said it wouldn't have felt right in my first season playing finals to be the one winning them. It's my season to learn, and next season I'll be ready for it. And that's when I knew I have to put a big summer training, because next season he's coming for it, And I won 3 platinum next season and still couldn't keep the world number one, because he won 3 platinum and the world champ.
Yeah.
So I played one of the really great season and he still passed me, That's the mentality of these guys. None of the other players could have done what he did. If you look at all the other current great players, I don't know one name that won more than 3 platinum in one season. Whether it's Diego or Paul or all these guys,
Yep.
have they ever won more than 3 platinum in one season? Asal, Ali, myself,
Yeah.
Greg, Nick, Rami. This is a very different category of players for me till now. So this comes with consistency, right? The other guys are great players. They can win, as I said, but their consistency is great. But the consistency of these other players just a different level. It doesn't matter whether they're tired or have niggles or they're sick.
And that's just the mental self-belief that those guys possess that makes the difference.
The mental, their presence on court, a lot of them even won matches before they even step on court, because the other guys didn't even believe they can win. I won 80% of my matches in my career that way, honestly. Like a lot of the times I get to the semifinal. Back in the day, I would be getting to the semifinal. I barely even had to play a hard match, even though I played great players, but they just didn't believe enough they can win. I put a smile in my face. I'm like, oh, great, you're a great player and all of that, but I'm thinking to myself, you're stupid. At least challenge me a bit more than that. It's great for me, you're making it easy for me, but that's not how you earn the respect of the top guys. When I was 16, 17, I made it top 20, and then I was playing Linko and Nick at the start, and they had a go at me on court. All of these guys had a hard go at me on court, and instead of taking a step back, I went back at them. And they hated it. They showed that they hated it, but I know I was earning their respect. Because you gotta just work a bit harder at the start till they accept you belong to them.
Yeah.
And that's what you find a little bit with Zakaria right now.
Yeah.
With Jonah, like Zakaria especially, I would say he's obviously he's been quite vocal about it, right? In his interviews and everything, and it doesn't surprise me, honestly, because he's that good, right? And there are a few things maybe I would have done different to what he does, like in some of the stuff he says and stuff. But at the end of the day, the guy shows confidence, right? He showed he wants to be there. He want to be there tomorrow, right? And the mentality that Rami had, I had, Greg, Nick, all these guys that just wants to be there as fast as possible. They knew it was step by step, but they knew they're gonna get there. They had the ability, they had the mentality, and it's not luck, right?
Yeah. Hard work.
Yeah.
Dedication.
Hard work, dedication. You said something about motivation at the start, and I said that motivation is not what matters, because it was definitely not motivation that kept any of these guys at the top of the sport or win world champs or titles or anything, because it's hard to have motivation every day. But what are you going to do when you're not motivated, right?
You obviously, when you're starting out on tour, you have to have motivation. Your motivation is to become world number one or to win the world championship. You have that motivation up there that you're aiming towards. But when you get there, most people won't get there. Most people won't get to world number one. But when you do get there, so you have to reset. Like, you've been through that process a number of times.
I'm not sure, Nathan. Honestly, I would say everyone is different, but I would say, you see, when you talk about motivation, you're talking about feelings. It's a certain type of feeling. It's a certain type of emotion. You see, when you get emotion in the way, you're showing a weakness here. If one athlete is showing you that he's motivated, I don't know when he's not motivated, because it's two different characters, right? But if you're the same the whole time, which is hard to do, you're the same the whole time. I'm not gonna know whether you're up for it today, you're not up for it today. I always believe that the moment you put emotions in the sport, especially when you play against players that in that category of players that are mentally very strong, they don't just study you as a squash player, they study you as a person. They study you as a person, what makes you happy, what makes you sad, what pisses you off. You're gonna know all these things about your opponents. And it's definitely, I would say it's motivation. I would say it maybe excitement when you start the tour. You're excited, everything is new. But it's definitely discipline. It's the discipline to find ways, the discipline to train, the discipline to not want to lose, right? What kept me going? I hated losing. I really, really hated losing. I hated losing to my rivals. I don't know, I would rather lose first round every day than lose in a final. Honestly, if I know before the final I'm gonna lose the final, I'll just lose first day. Then what's the point of staying another 6-7 days for what? You know. So for me, it's hating losing to my rivals. I hated losing. I remember there was one year when Greg, actually when Greg beat me in that match in the TUC, right? That was having quite a hard season for me, and at that time, my generation of players, like my age group, like Ali, like Gawad, like my brother was starting to step up. They were like already in the top 4, top 8, top 6 level, and I lost to a lot of them that season too, not just to Greg, and I remember, but that match especially hurt me, because of everything that happened in the match and the way I lost. I remember when I went to that summer training, I had there was a picture of Greg, obviously when the way he celebrated, right? I had that picture on my wallpaper on my phone the whole summer. So every time I was doing a treadmill session, I was like, you freaking push yourself another set, This is not acceptable. You gotta push yourself, You gotta remember that match. I wanted to remember that match. I wanted to remember the match I lost to Ali that season. I lost him by the pyramid that season. I lost to Gawad a few times, and then people started, maybe Gawad is going to be over on top of me after that, all these things, you see, because Gawad won the world champ that season, right? So all these things, I didn't want to hear, but it's not that I wanted to hear, I actually wanted to hear them. I wanted people to keep saying that, I wanted them to give me a reason, because I've already won almost everything. The only thing was left was the world champ at the time, and I was 26. So hopefully it was going to come, But at that time, I wanted people to just say, Shorbagy's time maybe is over. I wanted them to say, Gawad is going to become better. Ali's going to become better. My brother's going to become better. And I was like, keep it coming, That's what, that's what I was going to show. It's not going to happen, And then I remember the season after I made like 6 finals in a row. I came back to number 1. I won the world champ. I beat all of them, again. And then at 27 till I was 30, 31, I was still, playing at that 1 and 2 ranking, right, with Ali.
There's a word that comes to mind, which is obsession.
Yeah.
That you seem utterly obsessed and hell-bent to prove that you're the best in the world.
Well, there is different ways of playing the sport, right? There is, as I said, there are players that attack your skill. There are players that attack the physical side of the sport. There are players faster than other. I always took the mental side of sport. That was the part I wanted to specialize at. I don't mind saying these things now because I'm at the end of my career, so I don't mind giving it away a little bit. But for me, I really studied the mental of sport, and I spent hours and hours of studying my opponents. I wasn't just studying their squash skills or how to play the game against them. For me was, if I'm talking to Tarek off court, I want to understand how he thinks. I want to understand how is he, what makes him happy, what pisses him off, how I can get inside his head. If I'm talking to Ali, if I'm talking to Gawad, even my brother, Paul, all these guys, I wanted to also study the culture of where they come from. That was so important for me because each culture is very different at the end of the day, right? And we all have, like, as people, we're different if we come from the same country, but there will always be few similarities when it comes to emotions, when it comes to where you come from, which culture you come from. You go to New Zealand, for example, they're so laid back, very rarely you find someone from New Zealand not a laid back person. They hate confrontation, for example, so whenever I played polo on court, I'm going to look at him in the eyes. I'm going to confront him on court. That's getting inside his head. I don't mind telling him that now, to be honest. At the end of it, you, for example, with the French players, they're very emotional. And when they become emotional, they're quite negative on court. The Egyptians are also emotional, but when they become emotional, they're quite positive on court. That's very two different things. So you got to attack each side very differently. So see, it wasn't just for me about the squash game. It's about how to study and break down the character of each of my opponents. And when I go and play them, I want to break them on court because I'm not just trying to beat them for today. I'm trying to beat them for the next 10 years. So I got to invest. So whenever I played Gawad, for example, everyone was trying to play him on his forehand, stay away from his backhand. I'm like, no, hold on a second. I want to beat this guy on his backhand. How can I find a way to beat him on his backhand? So every time he goes on court with me for the next 10 years, he will think, if this guy can beat me in my strength, how the hell am I going to beat this guy? That's investment, But if I play him in his weaknesses, he'll go off court thinking, well, today he controlled the match. He beat me in my weaknesses. Next time, if I control the match and play me in my weaknesses, maybe I can win the match. Then the next match is going to be tough to beat him at the start of the match is gonna be tough again till I break him, you know.
Yeah.
So it was funny. Like it's like James as well. I remember last time James beat me was in Seattle for the world champ, and I was so pissed when I lost that match because it cost me a world champ where I was seeded 1-4. And I remember after this match, every time I played James, which was the last time I played him like 6-7 times after I won all these times. But I remember every time I played him, you know what? I'm gonna beat him on the backhand side. I'm gonna slow down the pace the same way he slowed down the pace, and I'm gonna beat him in his own game. And I did it, you know, because there are different ways of doing it, but it's breaking someone's character, you know. For me, that was the big thing.
That relates back to what you said earlier about 80% of your matches you'd won before you'd gone on court because
100%.
you'd broken the guy the last time.
Broken the mental side of the guy, broken his character down, understood how I can break him and how I can break him, you know. There are very, very few that I found hard to break. Very few. The one that come on top of my head is Ali. You know, that guy was hard to break, for sure.
Is there a bit of you then, when you come up against somebody like Ali, the fact that you can't break them, and then you therefore have to become even better, even harder, even tougher, is there a little bit of you that actually, like, is it actually enjoyable to have somebody like that as your rival to make you better as well?
Honestly, like, I'll tell you, I'll give you an example. I played Ali in the Canary Wharf final. It was the last match before COVID. And that was one of our best matches together, actually. I won this match 3-1. It was tie break. It was tough to win that match. I was driving back with Hadrian for 2 hours to Bristol. After the whole 2 hours, I was talking to him about the game I lost. It's not about that I just beat my main rival. It's I had to do that because I know he's going to come back different next time, you know. If probably that match was against someone else, it wouldn't have bothered me that much that I lost that game. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that was, if I remember right, you were practically carried off court at the end of that. You were leaning on Hadrian. You were absolutely gone.
Ali helped me to go to the golf court. You know, Ali gave me a Coke actually because I couldn't. Someone had to bring me a Coke during the prize ceremony because I couldn't stand. But that was what Ali was bringing out of me. Ali really took a lot out of me. You know, he came also at a time in my career where I wasn't 22 anymore, right? So I was still at the prime. But I had so much miles in my legs already when he came and he was fresh. But still, it wasn't an excuse. I still had to find ways because I was young enough to be able to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, Nick also was very hard to break.
But in a way, are you kind of like, I'm happy I had these guys in my career because they made me the best version of, like, if you never had a rival like Ali or Rami or Nick, and you played guys that you could break, and you did break them for 10 years, you maybe wouldn't have been as good a player.
Yeah.
You might have been more successful because you might have won more stuff, but the challenge might not have been as great. Is the fact that you had so many rivals actually something that you kind of look back on with a lot of pride?
I completely agree with you, to be honest. It's definitely true. You know, when like before this generation, I played with the generation of Greg and Nick, like there used to be like 6 or 7 world champion in the draw. You know, with all that experience. Right now, how many world champion will be in the draw? 2? Ali and Asal, Asal and Diego, who are in their prime, and me and Gawad, who are much older.
Yeah.
That's it. You know, that's not that much.
Yeah.
Actually, it's huge difference.
Yeah.
When you think about it, you know, before you had Grego, the world champion, Nick was world champion, Rami was world champion, I was world champion, Linku was world champion, Shabana was, and some of them had few world champions, and not just world champion platinums, right? So that generation taught me a lot, and I feel like the only one from the next generation that learned so much out of what I learned was Ali. He was the smart one that wanted to pick what I picked up from that generation, and that's why he became different, actually. And not the main reason of why he became different is because he was so open-minded to understand what was going on. Yeah, the others, whenever I play them, they've always tried to just attack me differently on court, you know, like Gawad would attack sometimes my front backhand. Of course, the other side, you know, Paul would attack maybe my fitness and attack my forehand sometimes. My brother, all these guys, they attacked me differently, but Ali was always, Nick was different. All these guys just attack you. The way they attack the game against you is just different, you know, the mental side. You really... With the other guys, you feel you're really tired physically after the match, but with these guys, you're tired physically and drained mentally. You know, it's just different kind of tiredness.
Did you, when you had a big final of like 2014 World Champs with Rami, you mentioned it, the 6 months, when you're preparing the night before for that type of final, or Ali Farag in the World Champs final a few years ago, is it a sense of sort of, I'm really looking forward to playing this because I know this guy is going to bring the best out of me, or do you feel a bit like, shit, I have to really perform tomorrow? Like, is there a bit of a
Playing Rami was hard because it wasn't just about playing Rami, it was about the whole week. Because because Rami didn't play much when I was at the top, but whenever his name was on the draw, everyone the whole week is waiting for our final. So the whole talk, the whole conversation for so many days, Rami and Shorbagy are going to give us another classic, you know? And that was hard because he still had to beat Greg in the semis and I had to beat Nick in the semis. And that was within itself another final, you know? So I don't know how he dealt with it. But the way I dealt with it, I had to take that out of my mind, thinking I'm still having to be great players before I even get there, which luckily I was able to. So whenever he was in the draw, most of the time we actually played in the final. That was the really hard part about Rami. One time I had him at the British Open final. I remember I was so nervous. I was literally shaking coming into the venue, and I found my brother. He was there. He came from Bristol to watch, and there were so many people around. I'm putting a smile on my face. Then I go straight to my brother, tell him, come with me right now, I need to talk to you. And that was like an hour and a half before the match. And then he was worried, and we sat in front of each other. There was no one else. And then he told me, Mohamed, what's wrong? Is everything okay? And then I told him, Marwan, listen, I'm so scared. I'm nervous. I'm shaking. I don't know how the hell am I going to even be on court, you know? And then he just told me one thing for a couple of minutes that changed my mind and my perspective. He told me, I just want you to know something. There are so many squash players that would love to be part of that rivalry. Your rivalry with him will be spoken about forever because you both are giving us something so unique, you know? And to be part of it, just enjoy that rivalry, you know? Because in so many years' time, people won't even remember, or people won't even talk who won this match and who won that match. People always talk the Rami Shorbagy matches were different, you know, and I see it now. Honestly, I see it now. And then he told me, you know, like just remember that a lot of squash players would love to be in that final right now. So just go there and just give it everything. And if you lose today, you lost to someone like yourself. You know, at least you didn't lose to someone you shouldn't lose to.
Sure.
You know, you know that when you're at your best, Rami can beat you, and you know that when Rami is at his best, you're 2 points away from beating him and you're going and world champ, right? So if someone can do it, it's you as well, right? So so I went there, I won the match, but it was that conversation with my brother. So Rami was tough to play, but I wish I had him for a whole season. For sure, because it would have been a different challenge, different test for both of us.
Yeah.
We would have got to know more about each other,
Yeah.
playing from September till June. It's something that, you know, even I think about till now that I never had that opportunity. When he could play a whole season, I was still too young. You know, I played him a few times in quarter, lost 16, but it wasn't finals.
Yeah.
The one I had that obviously was Ali.
You said there you can look back now and see it,
Yeah.
see the rivalry. Can you look back to those? Do you look back and watch matches like the World Champs final with Rami? Like, do you ever watch them? And when you watch, or when you look back now, do you actually look back with a bit of a smile and go, yeah, I was part of a exceptional rivalry. That's something I'm proud of.
Honestly, I remember every single point. I don't need to watch it. I remember every single point. I don't really need to watch it. I remember everything happened. I remember everything happened the whole week. These things stays with you engraved forever. Also, these athletes like Ali, Rami, they will have a very unique photographic memory with matches that they had. They will not forget things. They don't need to write things down to remember. A lot of time I speak to other players, I'm like, oh, I can't remember that match. Oh, remind me of that match. You know, I'm like, how can you forget that? You know, and how can you forget that point in that certain time of the match? You know, that was such a big shift, not just for that match or for that week, for the whole season.
Yeah.
Sometimes, you know, it's attention to small details. You know, I remember when I came to midfield when I was 15, Jonah always used to tell me attention to details, small details. Easy to focus on the big details. The small details, that's what makes the difference. And all these athletes, definitely the small details were huge.
We'll come back to Jonah and that in a bit. One thing you said earlier was interesting, and I've heard you say it before about emotions, and that I think your catchphrase when you were at your peak, not your catchphrase, but something you said was that to be at the top, you have to kill your emotions.
Yeah.
and there were times when you would win a platinum final. You know, you'd do the photograph and you would say, well, I can enjoy it for 5 minutes, but
Yeah.
I'm already thinking about the next match next week in the first round and the next title. I mean, that's the mentality that you're talking about, but it sounds like, well, I think when somebody looks at that and hears that, it's almost like there's no enjoyment there. Is that a fair assessment?
What is enjoyment? Like, actually, like, honestly, what is enjoyment?
Well, when
like,
you would win a big title, would you go out and celebrate?
I didn't play squash to enjoy it. I played
Okay.
squash to win. I played squash to be the best at it, not to enjoy it. I didn't come to tournaments to make friends, right? I didn't come to tournaments to. It's very different now in my career, of course, right? I had my mentality now is much more relaxed than how it used to be. But back when I was in my peak, which I would not change now. Again, when I look back, what is enjoyment? I didn't care about the enjoyment. I didn't come to enjoy myself. You know, I came to win. Whether I was, do you really think when I wake up in the morning and I'm playing a final and I couldn't sleep because of the night before because of the pressure? Do you think I enjoy that? Do you think I enjoy waking up at 6 a.m. before university or before school when I was in midfield to do my 400s? Think that's enjoyment? I didn't enjoy that, you know, but I did it because I wanted to win. You know, again, this is feelings. Enjoyment is a feeling. Motivation is a feeling. It's all this is part of emotions, right? And the less you have of it, the better. If you want to be really good, you know, you can have it if you want to have it with your team, have it with someone close to you. But when it comes to work, for me, just any emotion that gets in the way for me is a sign of weakness, you know. And I've always listened to interviews of players after matches and stuff, and you can tell a lot of emotions about them. But then Ali was always in his interviews like, thanks the sponsors, Diego played great. He kept it very simple. He didn't give much Ali always in interviews, you know, which was clever, smart, you know. But anyways, so I always tried to kill emotions out of it because it was always a sign of, it was always you can get a lot of weaknesses out of it. I played, remember a platinum in Qatar final 1 year with Tarek. I won my match, and then Tarek had, can't remember Rosner, right? He had Rosner, and it was his first platinum final. And I was working with the physio, so I couldn't watch the match. But I remember when the match was over, I opened the phone during the session because I wanted to hear his interview. And he was crying from happiness to make his first platinum final. I knew I won the match at that moment, straight away. Because I knew that when it gets tough in the match, there'll be a 5% satisfaction that was his first platinum final.
He's already made it.
He's already made that final, you see? Even though that I know Tarek mentally, he was going to try and win the match. But there is a couple of percent, 5%, you know, that's all I wanted. You know, that at some point when I'm 1-all, 7-all, I'm going to push extra hard because I know if I'm going to go 2-1 up, there'll be a small satisfaction that he still made his first platinum, and he'll be thinking that's a step in the right direction. And for me, I'm like for me, when I remember when I made my first platinum final, I beat Darwish in the semis, and I had Nick in the final, who was world champion the week before in Manchester. There was no way. Like, I was like, after I beat Darwish, I was like, I don't care who I'm playing the final. I'm gonna win that final. This is a moment. ElShorbagy is gonna win his first platinum, and he's gonna stay there. You know, that was my mentality. So, I mean, making your first platinum is a huge dream for a lot of players, right? But he showed me some emotions, right? And I knew I could hold on to it. And I knew when I put the tactic into that match, I'm gonna find a way. I was definitely the more tired in the final because I had the Souk in the last 16, Ali in the quarter, Greg in the semi. 3 days in a row. You know, that was tough draw, you know, to do that, you know. And so all these little things, you see, you can study a lot of, you can know a lot about the character of the person you play against from their emotions.
Were you always that sort of ruthless, selfish is probably a word that comes in there, that driven?
Thanks.
Were you always like that? Is that since you were a child first getting into sport, or was that something that you had to develop when you kind of went pro in your career? Or
from when I was young, I was very lucky that my mother and my parents, the people that they put around me were people that made me think like that and made me like that. When I was young, I had Gamal Awad, who was former world number 2 to Jahangir, right? So I remember If he wanted me to have a break from training during the whole week, he will give me a chewing gum.
Okay.
That's what he will give me. He'll tell me that's your break, having just a chewing gum for a little bit.
Okay.
That's it. That's how you have fun, because there is no fun in the sport, you know. Nathan, it's a jungle, right? The sport is a jungle. At the end of the day, you know, the top players are a jungle. It's a jungle, and the players are the animals. At the end of the way I see all of them are like they're all animals at the end of the day. And if you're weak, you're gonna be eaten alive. That's how it is at the sport. At the top of the sport, when you go on court, no one is gonna care you're sick. No one is gonna care you have niggles. No one is gonna care if you're carrying something. No one is gonna care if they know you have problems of course in your personal life. They're just gonna beat you. You know, so why do I need to think that the players will care about me? You know, and in my peak, I cared about only one thing, about getting better and about winning, and I knew I had a short window of doing it. You know, and there was no room of wasting time. If I felt at that time I had a member of my team who was not motivated, if I felt that there was not someone who from the people around me that didn't believe I can be there anymore, they're out. You know, it's ruthless and it's relentless, but it's I I knew there was no time for messing around. You know, and it's my career, and if anyone from the people around me weren't gonna help me, there'll be someone else who can help me. You know, um, again, it might sound not great, but it worked. You know, as a sport, it worked. You know, don't want to be like this for the rest of my life. I hated that phase of my life, you know, because it was that ruthless mentality and relentless mentality. It's hard to have that for the rest of your life, you know, and I don't want to have it for the rest of my life, anyways. And there was a moment in my career where I could have had it, and I remember I told my parents, I don't want to be that person anymore, you know, like it makes the people around you, it exhausts the people around you, it drains the people around you, you know, because it's tiring to be around me at that time, you know, because I'm only thinking about just one goal, one objective, and that's the only thing I have in my life and I'm dreaming about.
What changed?
What changed? Getting older. What changed? I'll tell you honestly. What changed? I also I do believe that it's important to have a balance, to be balanced as well, right? I don't want to finish my career thinking I didn't enjoy the tour too, right? So if there was a time I could enjoy the tour, is definitely later now in my career. I can definitely, if I lose a match that it was tough for me to lose, I'll still have a nice meal with my team after. I wouldn't be on a flight home. You know, these are the things that changed a little bit in my life. I'm much more calm, much more relaxed about it. But when a squash player speak to me and he speak about how to improve or any of these things, I'll not tell them what I do now. Definitely, because that is so opposite of what should be done. You know, what should be done in your peak is being relentless. Honestly, it depends on how much you want it. At the end of the day, you know, like if you wanna go on tour to be a great player, you know, and the work you're gonna put in to be toward a great player, and you finish your career being around 5 to 8, it's an amazing career, right? But you didn't try to go one step further, right? Like Paul, for example. You know, he was in that bracket 5 to 8 for a long time. Like Joel, he was in that bracket for a long time. They just didn't want to be there. They wanted more. They wanted more. And look at them now. They have 3, you know, like Paul obviously got to number 1 on the British Opens. And Joel, the way Joel finished that last season was, you know, we all spoke about Diego and Asal the whole season. And now Joel come and beat both of them in 2 days, right? So is he more talented than them? Is he a better squash player than them? I wouldn't even put him close when it comes to the understanding of the game to Diego and Asal, but his mentality is relentless. You know, I would put his mental side of the sport up there with Nick and Ali.
Wow.
Yeah, Joel, I've trained with him, and I know the guy. The guy is the beast. This guy, the beast for sure.
How, given that your mentality was so tunnel visioned, how was that transition for you to go from, you know, anything other than a title win is a loss, to now being in a place where I wouldn't say you're happy to make up the numbers, but it certainly doesn't seem to, from appearances, hurt you as much. You know, when you lost to Ali at TOC earlier this year, epic match, a couple of years ago, there wouldn't have been a cuddle on court. You'd have been off. You'd have been on the plane home straight away. The change in that mentality to go from being so tunnel vision to now seemingly enjoying your squash a bit more and have an acceptance that you're not necessarily going to win the titles. Was that a difficult transition to go through?
It was definitely. There was one season I started losing more than I normally do. Lost to Madden a few times that season, actually 3 times in a row. And my head-to-head before that season with him was like 12-0 to me. So and then I was like, I felt like it was a reality check a little bit. That to me, thinking I was world number 3 or 4 at that time, and then it was a reality check for me. Kept losing to him in the quarters, because Madden's game can really expose you if you're getting slower. It's different to Paul's game or Joel's game. You can get away with them because they play more at the backcourt. They're more traditional, so you can pick and choose your moment during the match. But with Madden, there is no picking and choosing. If you're getting older and you're getting slower, he's really gonna expose it. But it's funny when I wasn't as slow, I didn't really find him that difficult to play. Because I could always tidy up his game, and that's why I had that head-to-head record with him, right? But then I felt exposed by him definitely that season. I wouldn't say I lost belief. I just looked at the sport in a different way after that season. I still want to win, but I just don't need to win.
Okay.
Like, will a fourth US Open change my career? You think? I don't think so. I don't think it's gonna change my career now. But do I really want another fourth US Open? Of course, I would love to have another US Open title. Of course, I would love to have another world champ. I would love to have all these titles another time to experience this moment again. But doing it or not, it's not gonna change anything now. Whatever I did in my career is done. So I came to the acceptance to play with wanting to win, but don't need to win. And when you get to that understanding, it puts less pressure on you. You can enjoy yourself on court a bit more. That's when you want to start to enjoy yourself on tour, because that's what's gonna keep you going now. While before in my 20s, I didn't care whether I enjoyed myself or not. I just wanted to win. Because that was the mentality. And it wasn't really fun when you play all finals and then you come to May and June and you play against fresh guys who didn't play. They were supposed to be fresh physically, but then they come by May and June and they're all fall down. And that's the part of the thing I used to enjoy the most. Between March and June, you see a lot of players fall down at that time. They're all tired mentally, physically from the traveling. And that's the part that I used to love, because that's when I used to take my game another level. That's when I used to think to myself, you know what, everyone is falling. I'm going to take my game another level right now and show them I played more than you. You don't have any right to be tired. And I'm still looking more fresh than you. While believe me, I was doing so much work at home to be able to look fresh like this.
Yeah.
Nathan, it's an act at the end of the day, Like Joey gives us all these nicknames. Am I really a beast in my life when you go to Bristol? I'm the complete opposite. Ask any of the players that trained with me or dealt with me. I'm the complete opposite of the person. But the moment I go on tour, the moment I travel, is putting an act. Is put that face, that strong face. Put that scary face. Actually, I used to love it when I could see players fearing me. I want players to respect me, but I wanted to be feared. As well on the tour. You want to have that presence. And I played that role well. I played my role in the sport well. That was my role, being the beast. Being the beast that people saw on court. I didn't want to be that person off court. Because it's tiring.
Presence, though, is definitely what you created. That aura around you. You weren't often, you had your practice in the morning, but you're not the kind of player that we would see, hanging around watching other people play. You were never in the crowd. That was all a conscious decision.
100%. Of course. Why will I be at the venue if I don't have a match? To watch another player? To be clapping like one of the crowd? I'm not here to do that. I'm here. Yeah, now I do, to be honest. But of course I wasn't gonna do that. Like you don't make yourself easily accessible. You're one of the top players at the sport. Don't make yourself easily accessible. Don't just go sit in the crowd. There is a moment for all these things. There is a moment straight when you finish the match, you can spend some time with the fans. There is a moment. There is a moment for all these things. But for me to go to watch another player, the only one who I would do that was my brother. That's it, of course. But other than that, if I want to study a player and watch, I can do that on TV, right? I can do that with my team on TV. yeah, if I go to my practice, I remember I used to have all my big headphones. I used to call them my fuck off headphones. So don't talk to me when I have them. Basically, I used to come a lot of the time to the venue with my big headphones, even in the morning, and I don't even have music on. Just don't talk to me. I just do my warm ups, go to play the to do my practice, come back, and then come back. Some people may say, "Oh, why do you do that? Why it's tiring? It's like it's boring. It's lonely." Well, you didn't win these titles, so you don't know how it is. You don't know how it works. Yeah, it feel lonely. Of course, it feel lonely. Do you really think when you're world number one, it's not lonely when you have 700 players looking at you trying to beat you? Of course, it's lonely, and it's supposed to be lonely, but you gotta just enjoy it. Enjoy that loneliness. Love that loneliness. It's like you want to be in that place, because if you're not in that place, then you're not there. I wanted to be in that place. I wanted to. It's like let's say you play Qatar. Okay, I go to warm up before the quarter, before the last 16. It's busy at the start of the tournament, right? All the you have all these like five traditional courts, and then you have the glass court. So when you go to warm up in these traditional courts before you go on the glass, you hear all the other courts busy. Players are hitting the ball, are practicing, but then when you come to the final, who do you hear? You hear no one, right? It's a sound of silence. It's literally the sound of silence. The only thing you hear, the only two courts that have the lights on, it's you and your opponent. And the only thing you hear in the whole venue, the skipping rope of your opponent breathing, your opponent doing his stuff, right? And that's lonely, because there is no one around except you and your opponent, and you both are about to kill each other on court. Again, no one is helping you on court, no one is helping him, right? And you gotta love that, you gotta love these moments, and you gotta forget about love, you gotta want to be in these moments, right? And yeah, and yeah, I remember in the whole team this year before we played Egypt in the final. Obviously, it was busy at the start, and when we come to the final, Curtis was warming up, and I was sitting outside, and there was no one. Everything was switched off, and then Curtis come out, and I tell Curtis, listen, can you hear anyone around right now? And then he was like, no. Like, I want you to remember that feeling, remember that moment, and remember that sound, that there is the sound of silence. Remember this. This is exactly where you want to be. Okay? We're doing it in a team event right now, and we're all with each other. But one day, I'm not going to be sitting outside. No one is going to be sitting outside. You want to be in these moments, right? And that's what I wanted, and that's exactly what I wanted to be. And that's all what that's exactly what my competitors wanted as well, right? And I loved it, and I had a lot of success doing it. And there were moments I obviously didn't have the success doing it, but yeah, it's lonely when you're in your room by yourself. All these things, I love that. I love that people only saw me when I was on court during tournaments. Only when I came for practice and when I came for the match. Did we ever see Rami watching players? Never, right? We would only see Greg only if he's watching some of the French players. You see, it's different coming from France to Egypt, because Egypt we have like an army of players,
Yeah.
right? But with the French, he had only like Greg Marsh and Castagnier at the time, so it was different. He was actually helping these guys, so we would go and watch them, right? But other than that, have you ever seen really Greg coming to watch me playing a quarterfinal?
No.
There was no way,
Yeah.
no chance, right? But he would be on his home watching it, right? With Mathieu Benoit, probably, right? So I think we all had that. This is the similarity the Greek players had, but all of us were just different characters at the end, right?
What was the motivation? Not the word. What was the target when you started out? When you were that 16-year-old kid, I think Canary Wharf, you made a bit of a breakthrough, beating Nick Matthew, 16, 17. You obviously had the talent, you had the belief.
Yeah.
What was the end goal that teenage Mohamed ElShorbagy was aiming for?
Honestly, my goal was not to be world number one. This might sound weird, but I knew I was going to be there. Okay? The only thing was going to stop me from being there is getting injured. That's it. I was 19 years old in the top 10. Even if I had to wait for my turn, right? I was going to just be there when all the players retire, right? Basically, I just had to wait for Nick and Greg and all these guys retire. But I wanted to obviously get there while they're still there, right? So my goal was actually to try and do things. No one did it. to try and put my name in the history books, right? So let's say a top 10 for 15 plus years, right? World number one for 4 plus years, put myself with Jeff Hunt, with these guys. When you see like a stat and your top 5 and your name is beside these greats, these are the people that when I came into the sport, I wanted them to accept me, so that was my goal, is to do things to be like to stay at the top of the sport and try and break numbers after number after number. If my goal was to be world number one, that once I was gonna get there, great, happy, celebration, right? But that was never the goal, to be honest with me. So the satisfaction of going to world number one was a great moment when it happened at the US Open 2014. It happened in the semi-final, but still had a final to play, right? I had a final to play against Shabana.
Yep.
And if my goal was to be world number one, I would have lost the final, right? Because I'm already world number one, right? So my goal already stopped there.
Yeah.
So I would have probably lost the final, and then my team would talk to me about getting back into try and win again more titles, right? But because it was a big thing at the moment, but it wasn't as big as when it happened to other players, if I'm honest with you, it didn't have a negative impact on me emotionally few hours before I played the final, So I was only 22, so I had to understand all these things very quickly and mature quickly to understand these things. So that was my goal, also, always to do that. So yeah, of course you want to be at the top of the sport and everything, but I think I was that good at that when I was 19, 18 and all that age to everyone was predicting I was going to be there. For me, it wasn't about prediction, it's about a matter of time. But what am I going to do when I get there? That was the big question, how am I going to handle it? How am I going to handle the pressure with it? How am I going to handle players probably when they play against each other? They play at a level, but when they play you, they take their game into another level because there is no pressure, there is nothing to, you have to predict what they will do against you on court before they do it, because you can't watch them doing it with other players. Whenever I watched, let's say, other players, like let's say Joel and Paul play against each other, or like Paul and my brother play against each other, I will watch a certain level, but whenever they play me, they just play a completely different level I have not watched, and I had to predict that level. I had to understand what they were going to do before they do it, or because if I didn't, I would have kept going, I would have been like a zigzag going to all number one, losing it because someone figured me out, tried to get it back, and then lose it again because someone figured me out. So before I'm figured out, I had to figure out myself first. It's like I'm playing against myself before they figure me out, right? Seeing things happen before they happen, until someone like you come up to you, basically, and then at some point you just, like Ali did to me, and then like Asal did to Ali, right?
Yeah. Given that kind of was your target to be, to do things no other players achieved, you've got the record for matches now. You've 15 years in top 10. You've set a record there. But when you look back at the achievements, 50 titles as well. But when you look back at maybe World Championship wins, maybe the world number one side of things, where you've got Peter Nicol, Jeff, the Cans still ahead of you on that ranking. Do you look back with satisfaction on what you've achieved, or is there a little bit of you that sort of feels a bit, I didn't actually do as well as I wanted to?
Honestly, when you look back, there will always be things you can do better. There will always been matches where you think, oh, if I did this at this time, I could have done better. But I've learned, I think part of maturity when you grow older is to just accept what happened in your career and be blessed that I've had a career like that, still to be top 5 as world number one, to stay there at the history of the sport, still not a bad thing, and for me, I wanted to put my name in the history books. That's not particularly being the number one in every stat, but just to just be recognized, in terms of, in every time I played, not every time, sorry, every time, like whenever I won a title or stayed there in my consistency, I knew I wasn't gonna tick all the boxes. It's hard to tick all the boxes, maybe the world champ, I would have liked to have won more than one for sure, especially that all the other titles I won like at least 3 times, but again, the world champs final that I lost was Rami and Ali. At the end of the day, I didn't lose to someone that you think I should have won that match. It's matches where actually could have gone either way, whether it was Ali or Rami. They were all with the exception with the first one was Ramon was 21, of course, when that was more of, I wasn't even expected to be there. But the other 3 that I lost is, they were just 2 players that they played great on the day, and I played so good on the day too. And sometimes your opponent just played that extra 1% better than you, and there is nothing wrong with that, and you have to accept it.
Do you think if it wasn't one of those, you know, a Rami, an Ali, or a Greg or somebody, if you had lost to a, no disrespect to the likes of a Gawad or somebody that you talked about earlier, do you think you would be more annoyed that you didn't win it?
100%. It's funny, as much as you hate losing to rivals, but you know that they're the only one that's okay if you're gonna lose, is gonna be to them. You know, I wouldn't accept. I wasn't gonna accept to lose a final, whether it's platinums or a world champ or a British to the other guys. I could lose to them maybe in a semis here and there, and quarter here and there, but to play them in a final, like, it's dealing with the final, as I said, is a very different. It's like another tournament, right? It's like you play 2 tournaments in one tournament, the whole tournament and the final, right? And I have met many world number ones who are very good in the first week, but they're not very good in the final, right? And I've met I've met very, very few players who probably they play at a level of 7 and 8, but they still get to the semis and final. And then when they get to the final, they play the world number 1 level, because they step up. They go into a zone that you just can't stop, you know, unless they play against someone that is like themselves. You know, honestly, like, even when I used to play Ali in the final, there was a moment in the match when he used to say yalla yalla yalla, right? We all heard this so many times, you know, like, I've always heard a lot of players, when he's saying yalla yalla yalla, you should play him that way, you should play that way. And in my head, I'm like, the moment Ali is going to say yalla yalla yalla, I know the next 10-15 minutes he's going to be unstoppable, you know, and there is nothing you can do about it. I knew, you know, the only thing in my head, I'm going to make those 10-15 minutes as hard as possible. So when he win it, because I know he will, you know, when he wins those 10-15 minutes, at least is going to hit back at the end of the match. That was my mentality when he had. My mentality wasn't going to be, I can win in those 10-15 minutes. Then I'm not realistic with myself, you know, because then when I find myself I cannot win them, then it will affect me in a very negative way. You got to be honest with yourself too, you know, you got to know what the other guy can do and what can do, you know. And I'm pretty sure that Ali knew there were moments in the match where he couldn't stop me too, you know. Again, you know, just similar, right? So I never really tried to lie to myself, you know. So if it was the other guys who are really great players as well, I wouldn't have accepted to lose to them. I would have done whatever I needed to do. I'm not sure how many finals I lost in my career other than to these guys. I know I lost to Gawad one in Qatar finals. But I think the other finals where I played Tarek, played Paul in the Laguna final. I remember, for example, that match in the Laguna final with Paul. You know, everyone was saying Paul is going to win that match. Paul is going to win that match. Paul looked great the whole week. And I was just coming back from the period where I couldn't play events in Egypt that year, right? So people really didn't know whether I'm going to be back to full fitness or be playing well or not. And then I won 3-love, right? It was actually the easiest match of the whole week. I beat Joel 3-2. I beat Disuki 3-1. Had some tough matches on the way to the final. But again, the final is a completely different ball game. Dealing with the final is a completely different thing. You see, he beat Gawad 3-love and beat Tarek 3-love in the semis, right? 2 great players. And then after that final, people were saying, maybe he won his matches too easy before the final. And I'm like, are you guys kidding me or what? He's playing me, someone with that experience in a final in Egypt. It's not going to be easy. You know, I'm not going to accept to lose that easy. And then when we went to court, remember at the first game, I could see, you know, he's getting troubled here. You know, this is someone who's going on court thinking, I'm supposed to win my first platinum today. This is the day I'm supposed to win my first platinum. And against me, it wasn't against anyone. You know, if you played against the other guy that attack your squash skills, it would have been a bit easier. But playing against me, who's going to attack you mentally and understand exactly what you're going through, is going to be even worse. You know, so that's why the day I won, it looked really easy on court that day, right? And I know he's learned a lot from that match, because obviously he came back after so much stronger, won the British Open after being told number 1. But that first experience in a platinum where he felt like he was supposed to win that first one, playing against me, obviously it's just different. Playing the finals is always going to be different, right? And to take out the best players in a final is always going to be it's an achievement, I think.
You said something there about being honest with yourself. Where you're at now in your career, you you know, you're still in the top 10. 36?
No, come on, Nathan. You know exactly what it is. 35 in January.
35. Do you still have it in you to win more of those big titles? Do you still believe that you can add another world championship, another TOC to your resume?
That will depend on the others. Like, it's going to depend on Asal and Diego. Right
Okay.
now, it's within their hand. You know, I know that they're not going to play great every week, you know, but these two, if they're at their absolute best right now, it doesn't matter what everyone else is going to do right now. They're just the best two players. You know, they have the age, they have the experience, they have the mentality. Okay, Diego is a very different mentality to the other players, if I'm honest with you, because he's a close friend of mine, and coming from South America, for him to even did any of the stuff he did is a joke, you know, to come from Peru, right? But like Asal's mentality is very similar to what I had. Ali, all the guys like actually did it, but for these two, when they perform, and Asal performed 90% of the season like that, where Diego, we see flashes of it, right? These two are definitely a step far from the others right now, definitely. And I would be stupid to think that I can beat Diego and Asal in a semi-final. I'll be stupid. I would try to do it, you know. And if I did it, it's gonna be a mix of me playing very well and them being not on their day, you know. And that's me being honest, you know. I'm not stupid, you know. Obviously things can happen, you know, like it can happen. Like Diego, I get to play instead of Diego in the semis. If I make semis, you know, so someone else, you know, then you play one of them at the end, right? But these two is definitely when they're on their day. Like I find it very difficult for someone else to take them out right now. Whether it's even Paul, even the ones behind them, or Joel as well. I think Joel can beat them. But I mean, I can't really predict it much because Joel has surprised me so many times in his career, you know, and that's why I have so much respect for him, because I know training with him, I know he's going this season after them. I know that, you know, and he should, and he can, but I still think Asal is another level right now. You know, even if he lost to Joel, I think that when it comes, if that match was on a world number one, or on a World Champ final, and that match mattered more for Asal more than the World Series finals, I think Asal would have definitely not been too loved down. You know?
Well, to bring it back to you, if there's an acceptance there that to get another title, you're going to have to play well. It's going to have to be a bad day for those guys. You've already got the record for the top 10. You've got the most matches. What now is there an end goal? Is there a target for you that you're looking at? Is there...
Honestly, like, I was having this conversation with my mother yesterday, actually funny, but I told her I would love to play another World Team event, which is next year, December.
Okay.
Honestly, I want to be with Jonah Bryant in the team. I think this guy has something special. And we've seen it already with Asal Light in the British, and I really, really think he has something special. I think he had a good team behind him. As much as over the years, I had some arguments with Rob Owen, right? Of course, with the famous match with Paul in the World Champ semis and everything. But if there is one place in England where it's going to teach you how to be the Egyptian, it's that place. Because I've seen it with Paul. Because Paul did it, right? With me and Ali and Gawad, he did it, right? And I know... Rob's mentality that he doesn't really care about the players that are the best players. You know, he doesn't have that care about them, and for me that's a good thing when you teach the players. You know, you give them that belief that it doesn't matter who I play against, and Jonah already have that from such a young age, and I want to be with him in another team event just like how I was with Curtis. I want to give him some more, you know, of what I know as well. But it looks still far, you know. So also one more thing, one other thing I was just telling my mother about yesterday. I'm picking my moments during the season now. I'm not playing every week where I want to be at my absolute best. I'm not stupid. I cannot do that. So there are moments like last season at TUC, you know, with Ali, like Optasia, because it's my sponsor event with Paul. I had that crazy match. World teams, Europeans, I always perform well in these events. And as long, if I feel in a moment where these moments that I'm picking, I cannot perform in them as well, even when I pick them, that's when I know that it's time.
Okay.
You know? But as long as I feel like I still can play at a high level when I want to, you know, and I can, keep my level where I am at the top 8. This playing, being an athlete at the end of the day is going to be stopped. You're going to be forced to stop at some point, right? So why take the decision while you still can, when it's going to be done anyways, you know? So that moment is going to come, and it's very soon. It's going to happen very, very soon. But I just feel like it's not the time, right? It's not the time, you know? I'm still playing at a good level. When I want to play at a good level, I play at a very high level, and I can push these guys in a very, very different way to other guys. When I want to, for sure. Like, not many players can say when they're world number 7 or 8 can push Ali the way I did.
Yeah.
No,
Sure.
so surely the level I played at those days is not 7 or 8,
Yeah.
right? It's just that I cannot do it every week. You know?
Well, there's no part of you that looks at like Ali, for example. He was 2, and he's walked out of the game. Raneem was number 1 when she left. Jonathan Power, I think, was number 1. There was never a part of you that thought about sort of leaving the game at the very top. And not that your legacy is tarnished in any way, shape, or form, but, you know, if you walk out of the game at the very top, it's sort of sending a bit of a statement type of thing. That was never...
A statement for who? We're all going to be forgotten at some point.
Fair
right?
point.
We're all going to be forgotten, right? So you finish. I honestly talked to some of the players that are coming, and some of them tell me they have never watched Shabana before.
Oh, wow.
And then I'm like, exactly, and I'm like, are you guys kidding me? The guy, if you want to learn how to play squash, you got to watch this guy play. Yeah. You know, it's just pure squash. You know what? Just squash. It's Shabana. Shabana is a division of squash, right? And it drives me crazy. Like, not drives me crazy. I'm thinking, if you didn't watch Shabana, so Shabana now, his time, it's been like 10 years, and one day that's gonna be me. You know, and I have accepted that you're gonna have your time, and then it's time for the next ones. You know, and you gotta accept that. And I accept it, and you have a duty toward the next generations to make them understand a few things.
What do you mean?
When you win a lot and you become at the top of the sport, you don't just become a squash player. You become more than that. You know, you're also looked at in a way. The players want to see how you win. You know, they wanna, and then you teach that for them. You don't teach it. You teach it by the way you play and the way you win and the way you take losses. You know, whether you wanna be tough on yourself or fake a smile in front of the cameras and be tough of the you know, when people behind the scenes and all this stuff. And that's I feel like that's what I did with Asal when he came on tour at the start. A lot of people were attacking him, right? The media, the players, the officials, and I was the only one that defended him, if you remember, you know, right? Yeah. And did I agree with the stuff he did? Absolutely not, you know? But I had a duty to be there for him. Even if I knew he was going to be there, I had a duty because I care about the sport. I want the sport to be better, you know? I had my time to make that sport good and to take it to the next level. The ones behind me are going to take it to an even further, better level, right? That's why I don't like comparing generations, because as humans, we get better. Yeah. And I had a duty to try to be there for him and to show him my support and try and tell him my opinion about some stuff. And there were moments where I remember there were moments where he played Ali in the final, and then he would call me straight after the final and ask me, what did I think? And
Mostafa would call you?
Yeah, there were a couple of moments he did, and especially at the start. And I used to be just completely honest with him. I remember he called me when they played that popular match, a famous match they played in Al-Ahram in Egypt, and there was a big fight after that match. You know, the CIB there and everyone, right? Asal called me literally 15 minutes after that match and asked me what I thought, and I told him, let's speak again in 2-3 days. When I wanted him to calm down first. And then I told him, you were winning 1-love 5-2. I told him you were winning and it was good. And it showed that your level was better than Ali. But to become at that level of the sport, you got to be a street fighter. You got to be a street fighter always. You know, it's not, you can't just look nice on court all the time, right? You got to understand the ins and outs. And I told Asal, you blocked him a few times. Ali would have 2 options. Okay, actually 3 options. I told him 3 options. He will either keep going the same way, you know, go off court, lose because you had an extra weapon on court over him, because you go on court with weapons. If you use the blocking weapon and the opponent is not using it, then you're using 11 out of 10 weapons, and he's using 10 out of 10. Then it's not fair. It's not a fair battle, right? So I told him he had 3 options. He will either keep going the same way, and people will say after the match to him, you kept your discipline, you kept your fairness on court and all this bullshit, to be honest. But he still lost, right? Or he's gonna block you back, or he's gonna use the referees against you, basically. And I told him, Ali did. There were moments where definitely you took a bit more space, and there were moments you didn't. And Ali definitely gave a look at the referees to get some decisions. If I were Ali, and that's what exactly Ali did. He didn't. I told him, if I were Ali, there is no chance I'm gonna block you back, because you're gonna be much stronger. You're gonna win the battle, right? Maybe if it was me playing, I would have done the same, because I can, even though that he's stronger than me, to be honest, though. With Ali was so clever at doing this stuff in Egypt. He was just smart, and it's all within the game. Nothing wrong with what he did that day. He felt like Asal was using something extra. He did respond to him in a more clever way, and Ali these are the ins and outs maybe people didn't see sometimes when they watch the sports, right? And Ali was smart with it, and he's a street fighter, and that's why he won that match. You're not going to beat Asal unless you're a street fighter. Let's put it that way,
Do you feel like with Mostafa, do you feel like the scrutiny and the attention that's being placed on him is fair, justified? Is he using his weapons too often, to kind of put it into the same language as what you're saying?
I'll tell you both things. If I were him, I wouldn't give a shit. Absolutely not give a shit. I'm world number one, world champion, British Open champion, won all the titles, My way is working. Why do I need to change it? Why do I need to change it? It doesn't make sense, because some fans are not happy, because some people are not happy. I don't care about that. Why will he care about that? Why will he care about that? That these people have no right to give an opinion. No right, The only people he has to give care about their opinion is James, his coach, his team, and his parents, and that's it. That's it. As long as these people are okay with what he does, then he should be okay. If one of them think that he should change something here or there, then okay, you do that with your team, right? But if something is working, why change it? It's working. What do I think of it? I will always think about the athlete side, because that's where I was, right? I was never in the fan side of the sport, right? So I have no problem with what he does, because if the referees are letting me do it, if everything is giving me the opportunity to do what I'm doing and it's working and it's making me win, I'll be stupid to change it, right? Do I think he takes it too far sometimes? He has been so much better. If you compare it to before, he has been so much better.
Yep.
But do I think he does something worse than the ones before him? Not really, actually. If you watch some of the old matches, there were worse stuff.
It's just that there's more spotlight on him.
It's just more TV, more cameras, more slow motions, so it's hard to, and that's in all sports, whether football, whether everything, rugby, everything, right? So I think if he was playing at another time, if he played just watch some of the Jonathan Power and Palmer matches, right? Some of the Jancher matches, right? And all of these things, like he's not that far from these guys. Like it's not that bad when we compare it, right? It's just there are more camera, there are more spotlight, there is more social media, all these things. Again, if I were him, I wouldn't give a shit, to be honest. Give a shit. And even when Diego is a close friend of mine, honestly, when he talks to me, I'll tell Diego, honestly, if you want to beat him, you got to just deal with it and find a way to beat him. Look at what Ali used to do.
Yeah.
Ali, Ali would try and find a way to beat him. I would have hated to be at my peak during Asal's time.
Okay.
Because it was so much to deal with, to be playing him and trying to beat him. And he's to deal with, beside him being a great squash player, unstoppable, and I just feel sometimes he's a better version of me, just a stronger version of me,
Yeah.
because he's bigger and stronger, more explosive than how I was. Very streetwise, very smart, these are all the things I had in my career too, to be honest. But sometimes, I don't know, maybe because I played him at the time when I was getting older, so I just felt so contained on court when I played him, But he's just stronger than me, than when I was at that age, faster. I do think, though, his time at a world number one is definitely either than the time of the generations before, for sure.
Yeah.
But in terms of squash level, it's just two different games. Very two different games. You can't compare the squash that I used to play with Rami and Nick and these guys to now. You just can't compare them. But probably Asal was the only one that would have survived that generation.
Okay.
So Asal and Ali, obviously, they would have really survived that generation.
But obviously you've had that England against Egypt thing. It sort of feels like since you made that switch, it sort of coincided with you maybe being a bit more relaxed around PSA events.
Yeah.
But that fire, that real determined beast mode still seems to come out playing for England.
But not just against Egypt.
Not just
like even against France in the final of Europeans and all that, right?
Playing for England seems to have kind of rekindled the beast mode at times that we don't see every week now on the PSA. What is it about that environment playing for England that really seems to motivate you?
I used to hate team events.
Okay.
I used to, because I just didn't want to be in the team with, when I was playing for you, I didn't want to be in the team with Ali. I didn't want to be in the team with Gawad, even my brother, Tarek. These are the guys I'm trying to beat every single day of my life. I don't want to be, team events, you're going to get you guys closer, right? It's just normal, trying to win together and all of that, and you hug each other after you win and all of that. I didn't want to hug them. Honestly, I'm telling you the truth. I didn't want to hug these guys. Honestly, I just wanted to be these guys. But now I'm at a different time in my career. I'm leading these guys. Now it's a very different role. I'm leading these guys. I need to lead them by example, and I want to do that. And I want to make sure that after I'm gone, they have seen that side of me, because it doesn't show every day now. It's not there every day. So I can let it out when I'm that close to Curtis and Jonah, for example, in team events, right? So I'm not just doing it for myself. I'm doing it also for these guys. So it gives me a sense of responsibility to make sure that after I'm gone, that they have seen that side of me, because they're not gonna see it as much as they used to anymore. And that side, they need to see that side, because I saw that side of other players above me, like Nick. The guy was a killer on court. I still remember till today the first time he played me. He didn't shake hands with me before the match started. He didn't even look me in the face. He just wanted to kill me on court and just tell me, you're 18 years old or 17 years old, and this is not your time. That's what the message he was giving me. It was my time, because I beat him the second time. But I still remember it till now. But I also remember that my first ever platinum win, it was against Nick, and I still remember till today the third thing he did. See, these are the stuff they wouldn't show sometimes. The first thing he did, he went out to my parents and told them congrats. The first ever time Asal won a platinum or a big event was World Series Finals, was against me. The first thing I did, I went to his parents to say congrats, because I felt like I didn't understand it at the time, but I felt like Nick was telling me that day, one day is gonna be reversed. You're gonna be the older one, they're gonna be the young ones, and you're gonna teach him how to lose. You're gonna teach him how to lose, because when you know how to lose, you know how to win.
Is part of that also then trying to show Curtis, Jonah, whoever else is in the England setup, what, it's kind of a weird one, what playing for England means? If it brings that, if you can get that level to play for England that we used to see week in, week out, but we don't see now every week at events, is it to show those guys what's expected of you when you're playing for your country? That, this is the kind of intensity you need to bring when you're playing for England?
I think the important part of me, not just that, but also to understand that it's the whole week. It's not just going to be about the fight. It's how you're going to carry yourself the whole week, in your practice in the morning, in the way you're around the venue. Like I remember Curtis, and I think the first team event I was with him, or the second one, it's like after a match, sometimes he will, let's say, hang around. Sometimes couple of times I saw him hanging around. Then last year before the final, he wanted to go back early. See, these are the little small details I'm noticing, like the understanding and how they're learning and all of these things. Even Jonah, I could see he's always looking, what am I doing? What is my brother doing? He's trying to understand what are we doing. And that's exactly how I was when I was at that age. I'm just looking at the small details. These two, since I came to England, have been very different, to be honest, to the other in terms of their work ethics. And the other have been really good, and they put the work, but the investment they put into the sport, these two have been different from since I came to the England setup. That's why I give them so much time, because I want to see that, and it means a lot, obviously. And when you grow in the culture here in England, you learn so much how much you want to play for England, and obviously I've seen this all my life here. because I lived here all my life, right? I've seen it, and when I start playing for England, you can see it even more, right? It starts with, you get an email sent, you're being part of the team, an official email. These are stuff. It might sound nothing, but you just feel it's big. It's something. This is huge. You're playing for your country, right? And then I remember last year for European, I got a special call from Nick. Would you like to be the captain of the team? It's small details, but it gives you that sense of responsibility to lead the guys, right?
Yeah.
I've enjoyed playing for England all these times. Stuff like maybe the rivalry between England and France. I didn't understand how big that rivalry. It's not just a rivalry on court. I understood how big that rivalry is in my first Europeans. Like I remember the morning, all the English guys, their faces were different. The way they were taking the match, I'm like, guys, what's wrong? Like, well, like we're better than them. We can beat these guys. Why are you guys extra intense? But you see, I didn't grow up the same way as them. So, I had to learn these things, So now whenever I play France, I'm so excited to play them because I know how big the match is, So it was interesting to see these things, of course. And I played only one World Team event with Egypt. I was in the team with Rami and Hisham and Darwish. We played against England in the final.
Mm-hmm.
And the rivalry was huge at that time. The rivalry is still there. But it was big to always beat England in the final.
Mm-hmm.
And it was always big for England to beat Egypt in the final, right? But I one of the reasons I really play well for me, this country has done so much for me. From when I was 15, they really took care of me at school, at university, training, everything. I have really people I trust around me here in England, the England setup, and I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't say I've had that kind of relationship when I was in Egypt. And I was also in a different time in my career. I was so relentless and was so focused on being the best player. I didn't want anything to stop that, and so I really wanted to always stay away from the politics. I just didn't want to be involved. I just wanted to play my squash matches, win my squash matches, and get out. I didn't want to think about how am I gonna get an extra sponsor here or an extra sponsor there. It's not what I really wanted from the sport. I dreamt about being there, not for the fame, not for to get sponsors, not to make the extra money. I didn't even know how much money I was gonna make when I was young. If I'm gonna become a top player, when you start playing squash and you want to be the best, one of the first few questions is not how much do I make if I'm a world champ, right? It's to be a world champ, right? So I didn't care about these things, and in Egypt you gotta play the game a little bit, Whenever you have, I was world number one playing for Egypt for 4 years and a half. I did not have one Egyptian sponsor in my whole life, right? So people used to come to the airport, see all their pictures, right? At the airport, I was the only one not having my pictures there. CIB sponsored all the top 10 Egyptian squash players. I was the only one not sponsored, right? So I used to go and play against Rami in Egypt or whatever. I used to have 1,000 people supporting against me in my home country. I can go on and on and on about stuff that used to happen to me there, honestly. And I used to love it. I used to love it.
Well, why? What do you mean?
Because every time I won, I knew the federation didn't like it.
Okay.
I knew I was not the one that they wanted to win. I was not their favorite Egyptian player to win El Gouna, for example.
Yeah.
They would rather have Rami or Ali win it, And I just loved it, Imagine, I would rather have 1,000 people support against me than 1,000 people support me in a match. Let's put it that way. That was obviously I'm talking about that. That time now. Just way more enjoyable. It's honestly it's way more exciting when you have that in your life. You had to go through that. You had to go through that toughness and playing against all of that. I remember in the Gouna final against Rami. I was 2-love down, I was 10-8 match ball down in the fourth, right? And then I come back to all 10-6 match ball, and then I lose 12-10. Just open the highlight of the match. Just see how many people were supporting me how many people were supporting against me in that match. I had only my parents and my brother. That's it.
Yeah.
Out of 1,000 people supporting against me in Egypt.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I lost by 2 points. How many people could have taken Rami to 12-10 in the fifth? Having 1,000 people supporting against them, the most talented player, the most unique player in the history of the sport. Some people call him the GOAT, and I was 2 points away from winning, right?
Yeah.
And I wasn't even at my peak.
Yeah.
I was 23 years old. He was 26. He was at his peak, right? So these are stories. I love them when I remember them, right? I had to go through stuff that were quite unique. And I remember after that match, I wasn't even pissed. I remember the first thing I said to my parents, I called them Alhamdulillah, which is it's a saying, thank God for what happened that day, because I knew that whatever was good for me happened that day. You know, maybe if I won that match, I wasn't gonna win the British the week after. You know, and if I had to choose, I would have definitely chosen the British the week after, right?
Yeah.
Rami got injured, couldn't play the British 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
right? And that match couldn't make him play 2 weeks later, right? So you just never know, right? What's good for you. God is always gonna keep something that's better for you. I always believe in that, and faith always kept me going. You know, who am I to even think? Who am I to even think I was supposed to win that match? If the plan for me was to lose that match, I'm just nothing compared to the plan for me, right? So that's why.
Interesting there.
Yeah.
You're talking obviously about religion.
Yeah.
Which
I'm talking about faith.
About faith.
Yeah.
Faith.
Yeah.
And whatever faith is.
Yeah.
That's something I don't think we see much of. You know, some of the players we know, they fast during Ramadan, they have their beliefs. I don't think we've ever necessarily associated you with being a player that is going through Ramadan or is fasting. You certainly don't talk about it if you do. So there's kind of two questions for me on that is faith. Tell me more about what that means to you, and bringing that kind of maybe back to the England thing. Are you Egyptian or English?
I'm someone who was born in Egypt for the first 15 years of my life, and a product that was created in England. That's how I'll always see it.
Okay.
You know, but my blood is full Egyptian, 100%. That will never change. You know, right? So I am Egyptian, and now I'm a product that was made in England.
So the squash player is English.
The squash player, yeah.
But Mohamed, the person, is
Egyptian.
Interesting.
Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely. Yeah. I just prefer living in England, but that has nothing to do with where I come from. You know, fully from Alexandria. Had Egyptian coaches at the start. Then when I came to England, Jonah created that beast, right? And then for the rest of my life, just that life, whether from England squash or Millfield or the University of the West of England, that's all in England. That was all given to me in England. And it helped me massively in my career. But in terms of faith, that's different. That has nothing to do from where you come from.
Okay.
80% of Muslims are not Arabs. Right?
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, I didn't know that. But
yeah, so that's what people don't know. 80% of Muslims are not even Arabs. Right? The people always just associate Muslims with Arabs.
Yeah.
Muslims with the Middle East.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But we have Jewish people in the Middle East. We have Christian people in the Middle East. Right? We just all live together in peace.
Yeah.
There. Right?
Yeah.
But like in terms of faith, the way I see it, I always think faith is what get me through my tough losses, for sure. Because I always thought, let's say I lose a match 3-1. And let's say I was 10-8 up in the fourth to go to 2-all. And then I lose that game 12-10. Who am I to even think, maybe if I went to a fifth game, I would have won the match. Maybe what was better for me to lose at that moment in time. Because maybe if I went to a fifth game, I would have had an ACL. Maybe I would have had an Achilles. So surely God know that what was best for me was to lose in 4 games today. Because maybe something much worse than just losing a squash match could have happened, right? So the moment you start to understand that and think like that, who can break you? Who can break you?
Was that always there in your career?
Always.
Even since you teenager coming through, the faith was always a big thing?
Yes. And that's something my parents definitely put engraved in me since I was young. I always thought like that. And I think that really kept me really consistent over the years. Like I said, I think 10 years inside the top 3, right? Continuously, something like that. And that's because of that. Because even in my bad seasons, I always thought, who am I even? We're nothing at the end of the day. This life is a test, Nathan. This life is a test.
Are you passing it?
I don't know. I don't think any of us will pass it, but I think God is going to forgive all of us at some point, maybe.
I guess part of that comes from the persona, the squash player, Mohamed, keeping everything very much contained within the box and not letting that personal side out. Yeah. That very few people will probably
go inside that box.
Very few people have seen inside that box, but have an idea that there's a lot of depth to that side of things. Was that a big the faith aspect of it. When you moved to England, you were 14,
15.
15.
It was hard, Nathan. Oh my God, it was a completely different cultures. I had
For context here,
Yeah.
you moved to England to study at Millfield School with Jonah Barrington
Yeah,
at the time
3 years, yeah.
because you approached Joey.
Oh
Joey?
my God, that was lucky. Yeah, I came to the world champ was in Egypt 2006, and my mother kept pushing me. I was 14 years old or 15, yeah, and mom kept pushing me. Talk to this player. He can play with you. Ask him to play with you.
So you were just in the crowd, just one of the kids that we see at the Egyptian events in the crowd. You were
Yeah.
one of those.
Yeah, coming to watch by now in the world champ, which I was really gutted that he lost to my current coach, To Gaultier, in the semi-final that day. Funny, you know, I wanted Shibana to win. And then Greg played Plummer in the final, and they were both my coaches, right? Right, it's funny. But yeah, I was one of the players, but some of the matches were in the stadium, so the players were more accessible to go and talk to, right? So I spoke to some of the players. I wouldn't mention their names because most of them said no. I don't make them look bad.
You were asking, can I have a hit?
Yeah, I was just one of those annoying. Yeah, can I please have a hit?
So guys just come off the second round of the World Champs.
No.
15-year-old
The
Mo.
players already lost, and it would be like
okay.
the next day or the day after. They're just practicing,
Right.
hitting a few balls on
Yeah,
courts
yeah,
and
yeah.
stuff. And Joey, whenever my mom, I used to be quite a shy person when I was very, very young. So my mom would push me like, no, I'm not doing blah, 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 until my mom couldn't take no for an answer. So obviously she ended up making me go there. The only person that when my mother told me, go speak to this person, and I just went straight away was Joey. Weirdly. You know, you see, I used to be in a French school as well, so my English was not that great. So obviously I go there, introduce myself. Hey, Joey, I'm a British Junior Open champion under 15. I trained with Gamal Awad, who his coach was Jonah Barrington. So there were things to talk about and all that thing. And then the next day, I got a call from Wael Hindi, who was training at that time in Millfield with Jonah.
Okay, right.
He lost in the quarter, beat Nick, and he played so well that week, actually. And then he called me and told me, are you... Actually, the day before when I was speaking to Joe, he seemed interested when I was asking for a hit. He seemed interested in a different way. He told me, we have a school called Millfield, that's where my dad coached, would you be interested in all of that? And I didn't even know what Millfield was. I didn't know anything, right? And I told him, yeah, I would be interested, but what do you think? All I had in my head for him to hit with me still. But what do you think about maybe hitting with me tomorrow to see even if my level is that good?
Yeah.
But all I had, I don't care whether, you know, he can see my level, can go to Millfield or not, just hit with me.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
it. And then the next day, Wild calls me and then tell me, I know they had this conversation with Joey, and then they had a conversation with me. Are you serious about maybe going there? Because it could be a possibility. In 1 week, I was there. In 1 week, my life changed. You know, because I told him straight away, yes, I was. I don't even know till today why I said that. I didn't even speak to my parents about it, nothing, you know. Then I called my mother and my father and tell them all of these things. And then for my parents, for me, it wasn't the crazy decision that I went there in a week and my life changed. It's my parents taking the decision to send me.
Yeah.
That must have been a huge decision because it was just me by myself, right? But honestly, when I speak back in the day now to my parents about it, tell them, would you change that decision? And then they told me no, because we didn't want one day when you got older to think that there was you guys coming to us one day telling us that you guys had an opportunity that was available for you, and we didn't make you guys take it, you know. And so they gave us that opportunity, my parents, you know, when the opportunity came to Millfield. And yeah, it was Jonah made the move easier. When my mother came with me the first week to see how things are, Jonah just felt like a father to me. Still today, he's a father to me.
Just for that, you obviously you were in school, in a French school in Alexandria.
Yeah.
A week later, you're in a private.
Well, that when these things happened in August, so it was summer anyway.
Okay.
Yeah. So it
But
was
still-
the perfect time to go into the term. So
Yeah.
just 2 weeks late for Millfield.
But you arrive in England, English isn't even your second language.
Yeah.
You're on your own
My mother came with me just for 1 week.
for 1 week, but a 15-year-old
15, yes.
lad from Egypt that doesn't really speak English
Yes.
in a.
But that didn't matter because me and Jonah had an understanding. You see, me and Jonah spoke one language that was very similar, the language of squash. And that's it. That's all we needed, right? We didn't need more than that, right? He didn't need to go on court and tell me hit straight drive or hit cross court. I just could understand what he wants to tell me. And I can understand what I'm trying to tell him, because no one is going to understand the language of squash more than the people that are, you know, are obsessed, right? So we got along straight away. If he told me to have a session on Sunday at 6 a.m., I was going to wake up from 5, be there, you know? So he loved... Jonah enjoyed being on court with me. He would get out of his way a lot of time, take me on Sundays, which is the day he's supposed not to be there, right? We trained every Sunday, I remember. And yeah, Jonah changed my life. He changed my life for sure.
You couldn't really, I mean, given Jonah's history in the game, to come to England, you couldn't have had a better foundation base to start from.
I wouldn't have came. It had to be him, you know. No, like I wasn't gonna come for someone else, you know. Like it had to be so unique, and that was such a unique opportunity in a school even like Millfield, one of the best schools in the world, anyways, right? Academically as well, right? It had to be Millfield, and it had to be Jonah. That was such a unique opportunity. It would have been stupid to say no, you know, to learn what I could have learned there. And Jonah was incredible. No one like him. Honestly, no one like. He did not take till today £1 from me. He did never want to take money. He told me that the moment I'm gonna take money from you is the day I don't have money in my account and I actually need money. And you would never say something like this to someone unless you treat them like your kid, your son, right? So Jonah was something different for sure.
Was it purely squash, or was there an academic? Like, did your mum go, this is a great academic opportunity, Mohamed, I want you to go to university and be a doctor type of thing?
Both my parents are engineers. So the dream of any two parents who are engineers to have their first son as an engineer. So I did my first year in college actually as an engineer, mechanical engineering. And I really didn't want to do it. But I was definitely pushed to do it, and I was young, and I was already in top 20. I was almost 18.
Yeah.
I was already in top 10, so I was already good at squash, you know. It's not like I needed to, it was a risk, you know. There is always a risk of still getting injured, but you're already there, right? The risk is reduced already. So I ended up not even going to my exams in June, you know, because like I'm gonna fail 100%. Because in engineering, it's a lot of practical work. You have to be in college all of the time. Not like business. Business, a lot of it is lectures. You just can follow online and stuff, which is what I ended up doing at the end, right? And honestly, if I could pass, anyone can pass. Right, with all the traveling I did and everything, like, come on, like, anyone can pass business, really, to be honest. It's all common sense, to be fair. Lots of it is common sense. And yeah, I enjoyed my time at uni, but I lived at university for 6-7 years. We had a squash house. Actually, we had the squash course a minute walk from us. The physio is there. All the facilities are there. I probably wouldn't have lived there all that time if you didn't have the squash house, to be honest. But even when I was world number one, I was going back and forth from there, you know. It was funny, you know. Imagine a world number one athlete is living in campus. Right? I think Rodri, the Man City player, there was a period he was like that too.
Okay.
Actually, obviously with the difference in the money that he was making, obviously I wasn't making anywhere near close.
No, not close at all. Take me back to Jonah. I mean, there's a bit of a dynamic there as well, though. Joey would have still been on tour.
Joey wasn't. I was his last training partner. He was still top 30. When Joey, yeah. We had such good matches, competitive matches together.
I was going to say, I imagine the practice would have been pretty intense.
Joey trained hard. Joey was and he was so intense in the training, and I was intense myself, and we had some battles and some fights in the training, and it was so good because Jonah loved it. And and obviously Joey helped me so much to get better fast, because he gave me such competitive match at the top 30 level from when I was 15 years old. And that was such a unique opportunity to have. And because I was the only one there in Millfield, because it's hard to get to other places when you're there, right? And so I was a good training partner for him because I was getting better fast.
Yeah.
The only thing I didn't like about Joey was if we play at 5, he's coming at 6. The only thing I didn't like about Joey.
He was on Egypt time.
He was on Egypt time, exactly. And but I loved those last few years that I trained with him. Obviously, after that he got injured and he started falling down the ranking, and I was leaving the school, and I think that was he was starting to do more commentary as well.
Yeah.
It was a transition period for him for sure.
Yeah.
It was a transition period. But like we had good sessions, and he helped me a lot even to get into play some league matches in England, you know. All these things, of course I got a lot of help. Joey helped a lot, of course.
And Jonah was a mentor, still is a mentor now. Still Jonah, someone you still talk to
I wasn't
today?
Well, Jonah, the thing about it that with Jonah, actually obviously I saw him in June, right, for the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And the time we spoke before, it was in the World Champ in Chicago. I beat Dimitri, right? I was 2 love down. I came back 1-3-2. I was working with the physio. We played the last match, so it was like 10:30 p.m., 11 p.m. America time, Chicago time. And then I found an unknown number calling me, and me and Jonah haven't spoken for like 7-8 months or something, and which is normal. Like we'd call from time to time, and then the first thing he say, "Hello, my boy." He always called me like that. "Hello, my boy. Like, Jonah, it's 4, 5 a.m. in England. What are you doing awake right now? And then you're like, I just want to tell you, very good comeback, great comeback. Like, Jonah, like, we were watching, and then he was like, I never miss a match, mate. I never missed one of your matches. So the relationship I have with Jonah is like more of a father to a son.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
so like the times I go and see him in his house, I don't even call him before I go. I just take the car and drive there.
Yeah.
You know, and I know he'll be there. You know, and whatever he's have a shirt on or he doesn't have a shirt on, it doesn't really matter. You know, you know, that's the kind of relationship I actually do have with him, and I'm so blessed and lucky I've got to know someone like that. And I think the other squash players like Gohar, Sherbini, Joe, all these guys that met him for the first time, you know, during the Hall of Fame, they would have felt that energy because he had a very unique energy,
Yes.
Jonah, right?
Yes.
And I think it was such a. I even had a bit of tears in my eyes when he started. When Gohar came to speak to him, when Noor came to speak to him, because you know he has watched these people for years on TV, but never really met them, right? And I know how he speaks about them when he speaks to me on the phone. I know how great he speaks about Gohar, how he speaks about Sherbini, about Joel, about these guys, you see. And when I saw them coming to talk to him and him talking to them, I could see the respect and all of that. It was such a. I got emotional about it a little bit because that's someone for me is. I used to see him every day.
Yeah,
of
of course.
And yeah, he's the most unique, not unique, but like he's the most special person I've had in my life, my whole life, in my career, in my personal life, everything.
Wow.
Everything. If there is one person who changed my life completely, was Jonah, for sure. Jonah. Yeah, and I'm very, very lucky, very, very fortunate. And when it comes to the mental side of the game, there is no one like him too. None like him too.
It sounds like you've had very strong characters guiding you there. Gamal Awad, you mentioned, then moving on to Jonah.
Yeah.
And then I guess even, you know, to Greg today,
Yeah,
Palmer,
right?
you've had some exceptionally...
Rodney too is tough, right? Rodney was tough too. So, so I don't mention, so because all of them, you know, the people that I went to, they were all tough, right? So Rodney was tough too. Palmer was tough. I really, really enjoyed working with Palmer.
Okay.
Palmer was, because when I went to him, I was, that's when I lost the world #1 to Gawad and Greg that season. Then the match that happened at the TUC. And then I went to, 3 months later, I remember I went to Elguna. And I lost in the quarter to my brother in 19 minutes, something like this. And I remember I texted Holly. Holly was training with Palmer at that time. I texted her on Facebook straight away, can I please have Palmer's phone number? With my sweaty clothes, that was in the tuk-tuk on the way back, literally 10 minutes after the match. And she was like, and then she, luckily enough, she gave me the number straight away within minutes, actually. And then I went back to the room and then I called him straight away. And then I told him, David, I just lost to my brother in 19 minutes. And then he told me, yes, I was watching. And then he was like, what's going on with you? What's happening the last few months to you? And then I explained what I was going through. I had a lot of issues in my personal life. We had some family issues at that time, and it was hard for me to take. And I wanted to disappear, I remember. So I remember I spoke to him about what I want to do next season. I was losing to Gawad, to my brother, to Ali, to Greg, to everyone, really. But I was still 3. You know, I was still not that bad too. And then at the end of the call, I told him, but David, I just want you, we agreed that I'm going to come in the summer and we're going to start a new partnership. But I told him, but David, I just want you to know something. I don't accept 3. I don't accept 2. I only accept 1. I'm not going to leave that place in Ethica unless I'm all #1, you know? And then I loved Ethica. I loved Cornell because it's in the middle of nowhere.
Okay.
And no one knew what I was doing. No, I could just go to the gym. It was an old gym, old machines, old free weights, you know.
Like Rocky.
It's like Rocky stuff, basic, you know, like Rocky Balboa stuff. And I love that, you know. And then you go to the court early in the morning. The courts are dark and you're lonely. You see, it's lonely. And I used to love that, you know, because you got to be comfortable with it, right? And when I met Palmer, I remember it's because he has daughters. So he had a very soft side to him.
Okay.
When you watch him playing, the guy was
Yeah.
so tough.
Yeah.
But when I met him, I was like, who is this person? You know? But when it came to training, he was tough. Very tough. And he was mentally very good. And we had a very successful, the world champ I won was with him, actually, right? So we had a very successful partnership. And it's funny because I understood when I got coached by him that all he did in his career was part of an act. Because he's a soft person. Internally, he's a soft person, you know? and you can't show that side when you go to tournaments. Again, he played his role very well, right? It's like when I said that I played my beast role well, he played his role well, but underneath it, his heart is pretty soft. He's nice. So if you see him with his daughter, he's the kindest. Palmer is so kind, honestly. Yeah.
Complex, Mo.
Complex. Greg is the same, honestly. Greg was the same. Greg he was surprised that I asked him for help.
Well, it is a bit of a strange decision to go to one of your biggest rivals of your career. It seems like a strange decision.
I don't think so. I think I'll be stupid enough to not want to learn from him, right? I'll be stupid. Like, as much as we had that intense rivalry, Greg and myself, we had some fights on court. He didn't really, some of the stuff I did sometimes on court, he didn't agree with the stuff I did on court, Maybe I didn't agree with some of the stuff he did on court, but that wasn't the thing. The thing is that we took each other to another level, Greg and myself. There was a couple of years where we were playing a lot of finals. But there was one thing that, even though that it was intense, there was one thing that never left me with all these guys, that I knew that these are the guys I need in my career. These are the guys that are bringing the best out of me. And when I lost to Conrad at the Briton, I was going through that tough moment. I called him, and took him a month to accept. 1 month to come. Like, he told me, give me time to think about it, because he wasn't coaching anyone at that time. So he also wanted to figure out whether it is even what he wants to do, right? And he knew that once he takes me, it's gonna be a responsibility, because there will be a lot of expectations, because he was a player himself at the top, and he knew the demands he wanted from his team, and he knew the demand I'm gonna want from him, right? So he wanted to be ready and commit, and before he says yes, because once he says yes, he wants to do it right? And and honestly, he's probably one of the closest person to me right now in my life.
Wow.
It's amazing, like the relationship I had with Greg over the years, from being a fan to being a rival, to him coaching me, and now to him being an older brother to me. He's probably the only one I could call an older brother. I never had an older brother in my life, right? So he's probably the only one I could call like an older brother to me, right?
Have you guys sat back and rewatched the TOC match and the Guna final?
We don't need to. Honestly, we don't need to. Like, we both know what we did. Let's put it that way. We both know what we did, and it was for me, it's part of the great story we have together. At the end of the day, when you look back, it's a great story. The matches we went through together and everything, just like Ali, just like everyone. Why will I look back and think, oh, that was bad or that was good? Or, yeah, there are few moments here and there we could have done a bit better. But when you play at high stakes in big finals, you're gonna tend to do a few things not right at sometimes, right? So at the end of the day, that's not what mattered. I think the story that we had together, he had his fair share of success against me. I had my first share of success against him, and at the end of the day, look at us. We're world number ones, we're world champions, we're British Open champions. We both can say that at the end of our career, and that's what really matters, right?
Absolutely. Well, you said story. You've been writing a hell of a story for 20 years so far. Mo, what one thing, maybe there you've said 2026 World Teams, the prospect of LA 28, obviously it's a dream for most squash players. Too far away for you? Because that would be
if I'm gonna think right now, it would be so far, honestly. But if I get to World Teams and I see that I'm still playing at a good level, I'll definitely push another year and a half. Even if I don't want to, I'll probably do it. It will be stupid not to, right?
To get the storybook ending to have the Olympic
then this could be the last thing. But I'm not too worried about it. Even if I don't get there, and I decide to stop before, I'll enjoy watching the sport from far, It's an interesting one though, because I think the sport was fighting so hard to be in the Olympics for so many times, right? And yet we're not going to have the best squash tournament there, because you're not going to have all the best athletes there at the end of the day, right? And it's always going to be an intriguing question to ask a squash player. Would you rather to have a world champion? Would you rather to be a world champion, or would you have a gold medal in an Olympic, right? It's like asking Federer, would you rather have a Wimbledon title or a gold medal in an Olympic, right? And I'm pretty sure Federer would probably say Wimbledon.
Is that not because Wimbledon is historically the bigger... An Olympic gold, would an Olympic gold not trump a world squash?
I don't think so. Honestly, I don't think so. I do think... I don't know. I've not been in the... But like, I don't know, like the sports that has a tour, and has big targets every year, I don't know. Like I know Nicole said one time that she would rather have trade her 8 world championship for an Olympic medal, but I think that was more PR. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, I think that was good to say when we are trying to get into the Olympics, you know, but I wouldn't trade if I had 8 world champ for Olympic gold. I wouldn't even trade one of them, you know. I think I would love to be part of it. And I will give myself everything if I'm part of it, because but I don't know. I think I would still choose a world championship. You know, I don't know. Like when I don't know. Like from when we were kids, we always spoke about world number 1 world championship. That's what we dreamed about. You know, about British Open champions. That's what we dream about. I think getting Olympic gold is completing your career. Like Djokovic winning it at the end of his career, it's like completing your career. You know, rather than I don't know.
Rather than being the one single target.
Rather than it being the one single target. I think, anyways. But that's for me. That's how I think about it. You know, I'm fine with saying it because probably at the PR wise, that's probably not a smart thing to say. I don't give a shit at that time of my career, to be honest. But I would still choose all my British Open World champs over that. You know, I would every day, because it's like playing the Commonwealth Games and you win the Commonwealth Games without beating the Egyptians. Doesn't really make sense. You know, it's great to have all these Commonwealth medals, and you put the England T-shirt, you put the New Zealand, when you play for your country, the Commonwealth countries. But me as an athlete, I know I did not beat the best players in the world. You know, I know that doesn't make me the best player in the world, and my goal is to be the best. I'm gonna go after the best. If the best are playing in Houston, if the best of the best are playing in the street somewhere where I don't want to be, I'm gonna be there. You know, that's where I want to be, you know. So that's my honest opinion about it. That's one of if I was playing sports like wrestling, like track and field, all that, that's a very different sport. These are actually sports that, you know, the Olympics is huge for them and they peak every 4 years for it, right? But I think it's very different for squash. I think the fact that we're Olympics is great and everything, and we want to be there for years, and hopefully we can stay there. That's gonna be the biggest test, really, to be honest. But for now, if I don't play the Olympics, I won't lose sleep as an athlete over it. You know what I mean?
No, fair. Well, if you do get there, Mohamed, we'll wait and see.
Will you be there?
I might be too old. No, thank you very much for your time today, Mo. It's been fantastic chatting, covering lots of ground. You're starting your 20th season on tour, so just want to wish you all the best with that, and hopefully we see title 55, 60 pushing on, but we'll be watching, and all the best, mate.
Thanks Nathan, a lot. Thanks for having me.